Have you ever heard the story of a shepherd boy who became a king? It's not a fairy tale. It's the incredible true story of David, a man whose faith changed the course of a nation. Our story begins in Bethlehem, where the prophet Samuel is sent by God on a secret mission. God has rejected King Saul and has chosen a new king from the sons of a man named Jesse. Samuel arrives and sees Jesse's tall, strong sons. He thinks, surely, this first one, Eliab, must be the future king. But God tells him something profound. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. One by one, 7 of Jesse's sons pass before Samuel, but none are chosen. Puzzled, Samuel asks, "Are these all the sons you have?" Jesse replies, "There is still the youngest, but he is tending the sheep." So they send for him. And in comes David, a young man, ruddy and with beautiful eyes. As soon as he arrives, God says to Samuel, "Arise, anoint him, for this is the one." Right there, in front of his older brothers, Samuel anoints David with oil. From that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. Soon, David's journey takes an unexpected turn. King Saul is tormented by a harmful spirit, and his servants suggest finding someone who can play the harp to soothe him. One servant mentions David, describing him as a skillful player, a valiant man, and a man of war, prudent in speech, and a handsome person. And the Lord is with him. So David is brought to the royal court. Whenever the king was distressed, David would play his harp, and the music would bring relief to Saul, and the harmful spirit would depart. But peace in the kingdom is short-lived. The Philistine army gathers for war, and among them is a champion warrior of enormous size, a giant named Goliath. For 40 days, Goliath taunts the Israelite army, challenging any man to single combat, but everyone is terrified. At this time, David arrives at the camp to bring food to his brothers. He hears Goliath's defiant shouts and is shocked that no one is standing up for Israel and for God. Filled with righteous anger, David declares, "I will go and fight him." King Saul is skeptical. "You are only a youth," he says, "and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David recounts how he has protected his father's sheep from lions and bears, saying, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul tries to give David his own armor, but it's too heavy and unfamiliar. David puts it aside. Instead, he takes his shepherd's staff, his sling, and walks to a nearby brook where he chooses 5 smooth stones. With these simple tools, he goes to face the giant. Goliath looks at the young boy and scoffs. "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" But David's confidence isn't in himself. He shouts back, "You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." As Goliath moves in for the kill, David runs to meet him. He places a stone in his sling, swings it, and lets it fly. The stone sinks into the giant's forehead, and the mighty Goliath falls face down on the ground. David had won an impossible victory, not with armor or a sword, but with faith and a single stone. After this incredible feat, David becomes a national hero. The people love him, and a deep friendship blossoms between David and Saul's son, Jonathan. Jonathan loved David as he loved his own soul, and they made a covenant of friendship together. But as David's fame grew, so did King Saul's jealousy. When the women sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s," Saul's heart filled with suspicion and rage. From that day on, Saul saw David as a rival. Twice, while David was playing the harp for him, Saul threw a spear, trying to pin him to the wall. But David escaped. His life now in constant danger, David is forced to flee into the wilderness. He becomes a fugitive, living in caves and strongholds. But he wasn't alone. A group of men who were in distress, in debt, or discontented gathered around him, and David became their captain. Even in hiding, David showed remarkable character. On one occasion, Saul, in pursuit of David, entered the very cave where David and his men were hiding. David's men urged him to kill Saul, saying God had delivered his enemy into his hand. But David secretly cut off a corner of Saul's robe and then was filled with remorse. He told his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch out my hand against him." He refused to harm the man who was trying to kill him. Eventually, Saul and his son Jonathan die in a battle against the Philistines. When David hears the news, he doesn't rejoice. Instead, he mourns deeply for Saul and his beloved friend Jonathan. With Saul gone, a new chapter begins. Following God's guidance, David goes to Hebron. There, the men of the tribe of Judah anoint him as their king. For 7 years, a civil war divides the nation, but finally, all the tribes of Israel come to David. They recognize him as the shepherd God had chosen for them, and they anoint him king over all of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and his reign would last for 40 years. One of his first acts as king of a united Israel was to capture the fortress of Zion in Jerusalem. He established it as his capital, and it became known as the City of David. His next great desire was to bring the Ark of the Covenant, the symbol of God's presence, to his new capital. The procession was a massive celebration. David himself, overcome with joy, danced before the Lord with all his might as the ark was brought into the city. With the kingdom secure, David wanted to build a permanent temple, a magnificent house for the Lord, but God had a different plan. He spoke through the prophet Nathan, telling David that it would not be him, but his son, who would build the temple. However, God made an everlasting covenant with David. He promised that David's house and his kingdom would be established forever, and his throne would endure through all generations. David ruled with justice and righteousness. He was a great military leader, a wise administrator, and a gifted poet and musician. Many of the beautiful psalms in the Bible were written by him, expressing his deep love, his struggles, and his unwavering trust in God. Like all people, David was not perfect. He made grave mistakes, but his story is powerful because he was also a man of deep repentance, a man who continually turned back to God. As David grew old, he prepared his son Solomon to take the throne. His final charge to Solomon was to be strong, show himself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord, walking in his ways and keeping his commandments. After a 40-year reign, King David died and was buried in the city of David. His son Solomon succeeded him, inheriting a strong and unified kingdom and fulfilling the promise to build the great temple in Jerusalem. The story of David is a timeless testament to the power of faith, courage, and a heart devoted to God. From a humble shepherd to a legendary king, his life shows us that God doesn't choose based on what the world sees, but on the condition of the heart. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by David's story, please give this video a like and subscribe for more stories of faith and history. See you next time.